Yeah, man. Okay, guys, you want to make sure when you're pressing these old bearings out that you get a nice stable platform. See that big old round chuck right there? I just put that on and it made a nice platform to press that right out. If these get really nasty, you can heat them up. If those steel bearings just will not come out, you can heat them up a little bit and get them hot, and that'll help sometimes. But you don't want to go crazy with the heat. You really don't want to go nuts with it. You just want to warm it up and see if it helps. But don't be pressing stuff at an angle, you know. Like I had to take extra precaution with that piece right there and put it on a lip like that to press that little bearing out because of the step. You don't want to have stuff pressing at an angle. When you press stuff at an angle, it could shoot out sideways. A really brittle piece of this hardened steel could flash off and it's fly at an extreme velocity, take an eye out. Make sure you wear eye protection and make sure you're pressing flat and slow and careful. And be safe with this, guys. It can be dangerous, but yeah, what we're gonna do is find a nice surface to put that on, just like that. I'm just using this bearing to go in there as a press. You can use wrist pins or whatever other stuff you have laying around. It's no big deal either way. I don't quite have enough height with this adjusted at this setting to put this pin in, to put the socket in and press it like that. See, it's not quite tall enough. So I'm going to move this out of the way and I'm just going to press it to the edge, and that'll buy me a few more millimeters. I don't care so much about these bearings because they're old and they're coming out. But when you go in, you want a socket that's big enough to pretty much fill that hole. You don't want a lot of slop around that socket in that bore size. And the reason being for that is what it'll do is it'll peen the inside lip edge of your bearing if you're not careful. This surface right here, okay? If you have a socket that's, you know, if you have a socket that's way too small and it's barely catching that edge like that, you'll damage that bearing. You want a socket that's almost just as big, but not quite. I push that over to the edge to get it started. Now I'll have room to fit all my parts in. And notice how I'm putting the flatter edge on the bearing. You don't want to use this edge where it's real thin. You want to get a nice beefy flat edge. Put that edge down. And I'm sure there's some professional machinist purist out there that's going to yell at me for even using sockets in the first place, but here we go. And now that there's a hole in that big donut down there, these bearings should just go right through. Yep, there they go. See it walking around a little bit. It found home. It moved sideways about a millimeter. And then it started pressing. And you just keep going till you knock them all the way out. You'll know you got the last one all the way through because everything will get loose and flop around. There you go. All the old bearings and stuff, I'll pick them up and clean that mess up. But this right here is the part you want to bead blast and make it nice and clean. And then we'll come back and put the new ones in. As this is it out of the bead blaster, you want to make sure that you don't go after those bearing surfaces very, very coarsely. You know, it's impossible not to hit them when the holes are open like that. But you want to just blast around, make the part look nice. Truthfully, these swing arm linkages are down way under out of view, and they get pounded to hell by, you know, chain lubricant, grease from the bearings, gasoline coming out of the float bowl vents. I mean, this part gets mucked up, so it really doesn't matter. So, you know, I am going to paint this an aluminum color just to prevent corrosion. I don't know that it could corrode with all that muck that's going to get all over it, but I'm going to paint it anyway. A lot of guys will put the bearings in first and then paint it last and then put the seals on, which is what I'm going to do. A lot of guys will paint it first and then try to put the parts in. And honestly, I just find it to be more difficult. Why are you scratching up brand new paint? And, you know, you're probably in a hurry. You're going to get paint on your hands. Why mess with all that? Just put the bearings in, then paint it, then put your seals in last. So then, I mean, nothing looks hokier. I mean, nothing looks worse than painting a rubber seal part. That just makes it look trashy. So don't do that. But get your bearings in, get everything done first. Then spray a light coat of aluminum paint on it, and then put your seals in last. It'll look real nice. Here we go. Press this little bearing in the little end. I've got a smaller socket, and I'm just going to set that hole right over that hole. Actually, I don't even need a hole. I could just use it as a plate because I'm not going all the way through. But that's okay. We'll just set it there and get it done. See how it went a little sideways on me? See how it walked? So I'm going to loosen it up, square it, and try again. You do not want to jam a bearing in sideways. You tear everything up. You can damage the bearing and the dog bone. See how it's going in straighter now? I'd say that looks pretty good. It's about 3 mils on both sides. I'm gonna call it a day. I'll leave that bearing protector in there until after I paint it. But yeah, simple as that. Now when you do these big ones, you don't need any plates like that. These are concentrically flat, so you just go flat like that. Move all this stuff over. Just use a flat plate. And then press the bearing with the lettering. See that lettering? Press that lettering to the outside. Okay, that's your press lip. If you press on that rounded lip, you're going to damage the bearing. So leave the protective sleeve in like that. And leave the letters going out. And press it in just far enough that the seal will fit, and that's it. There we go. It's going in nice and straight by finger. Don't even need any leverage really. It's just pressing in. I'm going to go in a little bit too far for the seal, a little bit farther than the seal would be. That's what. Yeah. You want to make sure you're in far enough to clear the seals, guys, because here's the thing. The crossbar, the cross inner bearing race, the shaft, or, you know, this part. I don't know if you'd call that a shaft or bearing collar. It's not really a collar, it's a pin. Technically it's a pin. So that bearing pin is going to go all the way across that surface, and it's going to stick out just about almost to the end, and then the seals are going to rest on the end of it. So you want to make sure these bearings are inboard of that. You don't have to push them in all the way till they touch in the center, although if you did, it wouldn't be the end of the world. You know, technically, theoretically, on paper, the wider they are, the more support you get. The skinnier they are, the more radial axial play you get, but, you know, it's dirt bike, guys. You know what I mean? So I'm going to leave the bearing covers in there until we get it painted. I'm going to do this one and turn the camera. I'm going to do these two bearings, and then I'm going to clean it off again with alcohol and a rag, and then I'm going to spray paint it, let that dry. Then after that dries, I'll pull the bearing protectors out and pack the bearings with grease. So I'll be back in a little while. It's going to take a while for that paint to dry. Here it is, paint's drying up. We're going to get these bearing protectors out and go ahead and pack it. Okay, go ahead and pack your grease in there. See that, guys? I just pulled the needles out of the cage. I'm gonna turn the camera off and get that fixed. But sometimes that happens. The needles pop out of the cage, and you got to get them back in. There you go, all painted up and clean. New bearings packed, new swivels, new seals, ready to rock. In the kit, we still have some spare parts. We have 2 bearings for the swing arm. They go up in the dog bone lengths on the end of the swing arm. I have a separate bearing kit over there for the swing arm arms. And then this cross pin goes there, and 2 more seals for the swing arm. So the kit comes with all the parts you need, not only for the triangle strut, but also for the swing arm as well. So that's it, guys. All bead blasted, cleaned up, repressed, and packed, ready to go for another 20 years. How about you two? You ready to go for another 20 years? No? Huh? He said he's too fucked up. Thanks for coming to this Cycle for Life video, guys. We greatly do appreciate it. We're not doing this to make money. This isn't a financial thing. I've got day work, full-time job. But please do like, share, and subscribe, and click the notification button, because it helps us get this information in front of other people. And you never know, maybe a motorcycle will save their life too. So wear your helmets, and no matter how fast you choose to ride, please ride safe. God bless.